My name is Paul Dano. I am here at the Seattle Film Festival for the opening night film, The Extra Man.
I'm a huge fan. Considering you're so young, I am really amazed and impressed by the kind of career you fashioned for yourself. Some of these unbelievable movies. You tend to take movies that your characters tend to be either challenging or offbeat. The films tend to be very daring, and it's just like you do not have a kind of a typical career path that I think one would expect from somebody so young, where you start off in a teen comedy and you become this the popular guy and this or that. Have you consciously fashioned your career in a certain way?
Yes and no. I mean, as soon as I felt like I had the opportunity to maybe say no to something, yeah, that's sort of one of your powers as an actor. You're not forced to do anything. I mean, maybe you have to pay a bill or support a family, but I felt like, okay, I'm young, and somehow I got a foot in the door, and I don't need a lot right now. So I did want to try and do work that interested me and somehow maybe inspired me, but also work that would make me become a better actor. That would have a learning curve to it, being young.
I want to talk about just about everything in your career because I'm so fascinated by so many of the movies that you've done. But because you're here for Extra Man, let's start sort of and go
Sure.
backwards.
Yeah.
What is it about, again, in The Extra Man, you are another kind of an oddball, little off-center, off-kilter kind of character. Talk to me about what your interpretation of Lewis is. I mean, how do you see him? How would you explain him to somebody who maybe hasn't seen the film yet?
What I liked about Lewis and what brought me to him was the fact that on the outside he has a certain optimism or hope, I think, and a romantic viewpoint, but on the inside maybe feels unlovable or lost and doesn't really know where he fits in. And I felt like those two things pushing against each other were the genesis of any of the offbeatness or quirks, and I felt like to play him the way I wanted to, I had to understand that. So anything that is eccentric stemmed from something real. And
because it does have a kind of, the movie has kind of a comic tone
Sure.
To it,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it may be true psychologically, but it's, I don't know, exaggerated or something that's played up to.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean,
That's interesting.
he's surrounded by characters who are just wild.
Make him seem more normal.
Yes, yeah, and I think because we're on Lewis's journey, we're also partly feeling the story through him or looking through his eyes, and I think because he is such a romantic, I mean, he tries to dress like a writer from the 30s or something, again to make himself feel like something.
Yeah.
But he has a romantic quality, and so I think we're viewing these other characters as how he takes them in, which I think is part of their heightened quality, maybe.
So let's. I don't know how much time I have, so I have to immediately at least get to There Will Be Blood. Which, first off, I was just thinking, if I were in your shoes, I mean, that is a movie for the ages. I mean, that is just, if nothing else ever happened in your career, to be toe to toe with Daniel Day-Lewis in and Thomas Edison. I mean, it's just Paul Thomas Edison. It's just an amazing thing to be a part of. Do you, as a working actor, have time to take pride in something like that, or is that something for the rest of us to kind of marvel at?
I mean, I was so excited to be there.
You were?
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, but particularly modern filmmakers who was making films when I was starting to get into them.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing Boogie Nights because my dad told me not to go see it. There was an article
You're that kind
in the
of kid.
Sunday Times or something, and he said, "You haven't seen this, right?" I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, good." So
That's first on your list.
I've been a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just fantastic. Punch Drunk Love is one of my favorite films.
Absolutely, it was my favorite film of the year that year.
I think it's so. And then Daniel Day-Lewis is he's one of the great actors there is, I think, and they're both great guys, and it was a thrill. I mean, of course, once you get down to it, you gotta get down to business, and you have to put that aside actually, and it's actually hard first when you get to work with people you admire so much, but you sort of have to bring them down to your level.
Is that how you see it?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be able to go out there and forget about all that and do your best. But I'm very proud to have been a part of that film, and I feel very fortunate.
And so I assume it's true. You were hired as one brother, and then you ended up getting the other brother's job when the other actor didn't quite work out. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
I didn't want to know, and I just still see, things happen. But yeah, I was only going to play one brother, and then at some point during filming, I was asked to play the other brother, and had to sort of jump into it with not a lot of 3.5 days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, because you're played by the same actor, did you try? Was Paul different from Eli, or basically was it just one character was on the other character on steroids?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to in the brief amount of time I had delineate them from each other myself.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think there is a who's good at is there a good brother and a bad brother, and then Eli you would think is the bad brother, but this other guy Paul did sell his family out in a way.
Yeah.
So it was something that they weren't meant to be twins originally.
They weren't. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just
you ran with it.
Just ran with it. Yeah.
And so I mean those scenes where you are screaming at Daniel Day-Lewis, in the church and all this. I mean, that was it's like a manic performance, and then the bowling alley scene too. I mean, these are things. Of course, I'm sure you've seen all the YouTube videos of them as well.
Yeah. I've heard of them. I don't know. I haven't really seen any of them.
Well, they turn them into dance routines, but I mean, those are. So
really?
What? Oh yeah, it's very funny where they. It's I don't know if you want to see them, but they take the film and they have a lot of fun with it because you drink my milkshake became this this huge phrase.
Yeah.
At the time, I mean, how conscious? One of the things about Daniel Day-Lewis, and I think this happened as Bill the Butcher too, is he's so Titanic that he becomes almost operatic, and I felt like you just matched him, Titanic level for Titanic level. I'm just wondering how high pitched were those scenes, and how many times did you do them? Because they just come off the screen like the film's on fire.
Well, I don't know if it's because I worked with Daniel on a film called The Ballad of Jack and Rose previously,
absolutely.
So I knew how he worked, and I find it very fun to engage in that way. We didn't talk to each other basically once we started filming.
Is that right?
We kept our distance pretty well. We didn't really rehearse, so I think it felt like that's what those scenes needed to be, and I think it's in the writing, frankly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just Daniel or myself. I think that's what the writing called for, and that's what we went for.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of other choices in my mind in terms of how to attack that.
And did you, if it was, half improvised, and I don't mean by the script, but in terms of doing the performances, did Anderson have you do the scenes over and over again, or were they such fever-pitched performances that that would be counterproductive?
It depended on the scene.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of the big scenes, I feel like we didn't necessarily do a lot of takes.
Yeah.
I feel like there was small stuff that we did a lot of takes of. Maybe just because of oil dripping in the background and needing that to be the right, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we did them until we felt it was good, but not necessarily a lot of takes.
And when you saw the finished product, was it, there's that opening scene with Daniel with the music alone, it just blew me away. When you finally saw the finished product, what was your reaction?
There was some sequences that I wasn't there for when they filmed that I was just stunned by. Particularly there's a montage where Daniel and the guy who comes to him singing, he's his brother. and they're measuring out some stuff, and then they end up at the ocean. There's this montage, and it takes them to the ocean. And that scene, I was just, oh my God, I was like, whoa. And I thought, it's hard to judge your own work, but I thought, if all these other scenes in the movie are this great, hopefully the scenes I'm in are also on the level with this, because I thought it was just, impressive.
Very good.